Imagine that to leave your room, you need to dismantle the door and coordinate a dozen firefighters. And that's not an exaggeration. It was exactly what happened in 1978 with a taxi driver from the United States, whose body had reached a point where it no longer fit into his own life. He weighed 1,400 pounds, and what happened to him afterwards is something you would not wish on anyone. His name was John Brower Minnick. He was taken to a hospital in Washington with massive edema causing fluid accumulation, as if someone had sealed all the drainage valves. Doctors estimated a body mass index close to 190, a figure not found in any regular reference manual. During almost 2 years of hospitalization, under a strict diet, medication, and intensive care, he lost more than 420 kilograms. It was found that about 410 were fluids accumulated by the edema. But even so, the drop remains one of the largest ever documented. It seemed that the worst had passed until upon leaving, the weight went up like foam again. His organs could not withstand the strain, and he died at 41 years of age due to cardiac and respiratory complications. This case is not just a number, it's proof that the limit exists and that going beyond turns every heartbeat into a struggle. Extreme weight collapses the lymphatic system, suffocates the lungs, damages the heart, and promotes infections, clots, and ulcers that do not heal. And even so, there was another story that surprised the world with its unlikely turn. In Saudi Arabia, Khalid bin Mohsen Shari reached around 610 kilograms. His rescue also required a huge operation. He was transferred on a special stretcher and started a medical program with controlled nutrition, physiotherapy, and surgery when it was safe to do so. In 6 months, he lost more than 540 kilograms and over time stabilized around 68 kilograms. Her case became a symbol of what a coordinated medical plan can achieve when the body still has room to respond. It wasn't magic. It was a team, an adapted environment, and sustained discipline. But the underlying message is the same. The human body has limits. Overtaking them is not an achievement. It is entering a zone where every day is a risk. Time without sleep. In 1964, a student named Randy Gardner stayed awake for 11 days and 25 minutes without sleeping. He did it as a school experiment under medical supervision. After the 3rd day, he could no longer concentrate. By the 4th day, he began experiencing hallucinations. In the end, he mixed up words, and his short-term memory completely collapsed. He slept 14 hours straight to recover. But the experiment made one thing clear. The human body is not designed to function without sleep. It was so clear that Guinness decided not to record sleep deprivation records anymore. The risk is too high. When the body does not sleep, it survives on microsleeps. They are second-long blackouts where the eyes may be open, but the brain is totally disconnected. You don't realize it until it's too late. The immune system drops, blood pressure becomes unstable, and the body starts to manage glucose worse. First comes irritability, then uncoordination, and after that, delirious thinking. And if it goes on, real failures begin. There is an extremely rare genetic disease called fatal familial insomnia. It literally erases the ability to sleep. The result is a series of severe neurological symptoms ending in death. It is the most extreme example of what happens when sleep disappears completely. And the tricks? Splashing your face with water, drinking coffee, or breathing cold air only help for a few minutes. In real environments, such as night shifts or hospital shifts, there are strict protocols, scheduled naps, intense artificial light, and controlled rotations to not disrupt the internal clock. Because the problem is not staying awake one night, the problem is repeating it every week for months. Errors increase, memory gets damaged, mood is altered, and the risk of depression, obesity, and cardiovascular diseases skyrockets. Sleeping is not optional. It's mandatory maintenance, and the body reminds you every time you try to skip it. The height. Imagine measuring the same as an Asian elephant. That is the case for Robert Wadlow, the tallest man recorded in history. He was 2.72 meters tall and was only 22 years old when he died. The most unsettling part is how it happened. A nearly imperceptible scrape on his orthopedic device became infected, and that small wound became the gateway through which tragedy entered. His father was 1.82 meters tall, Wadlow was almost a meter taller than him, and that extra meter was not profitable for him. His legs couldn't hold his weight without the help of metal supports, and his joints collapsed with every step. His gigantism was caused by hyperplasia of the pituitary gland that released growth hormone without restriction. But there was something more. The higher the height, the greater the leverage, and with each leverage, a relentless blow on knees, hips, and spine. Today, the tallest living man in the world, Sultan Kosin, reaches 2.51 meters. He walks with crutches, but at that height, the bones start to curve. The tendons complain, circulation suffers, and even the eyesight must adjust to a higher horizon. And the pattern also repeats in women like Zheng Jinlian, 2.46 meters, or in cases like Gabrielle Monjan in Mozambique, 2.45 meters. The human body has a mechanical limit, and they are pushing it from the inside. From 2.5 meters, medicine no longer talks about height, but about survival. Tendons are not designed for those tensions. Cartilage pulverizes, and the heart works in emergency mode. There are treatments to stop the uncontrolled growth, such as pituitary surgery or inhibitor drugs. But if they come late, the damages are irreversible. However, the most disturbing thing is that some people are voluntarily choosing to break that balance. They undergo aesthetic leg lengthening. How? The bone is fractured, slowly separated with fixators, and forced to regenerate centimeter by centimeter. It hurts for months, can leave nerve sequelae, infections, thrombosis, and an altered gait. You gain height. But sometimes, what really grows is the price your body will have to pay for decades. Physical endurance is not a competition. It is a war against the body. In 48 hours, the Greek man Yannis Kouros ran 473 kilometers without stopping. While you slept, ate, and went back to sleep, he kept going. And this is not something genetic. How is it possible to maintain that pace without breaking? The key lies in how the body transforms. Its heart pumps more blood per beat. Its technique saves energy with every step. His mind normalizes the pain. It's an adaptation forced by years of effort. More capillaries in the muscles, a mitochondrial density well above average, and a lactate threshold so high that the famous wall is simply delayed or disappears. But Kouros is no exception. Christoph Strasser, in cycling, exceeded 1,000 kilometers in 24 hours at an average speed of over 42 kilometers per hour without slowing down. And in icy waters, Sarah Thomas swam across the English Channel 4 consecutive times. 210 kilometers swimming for 54 continuous hours, while the salt burned her skin and her body screamed to stop. And the body transforms. It learns to use fat as a long-lasting fuel, stores glycogen like a treasure, and breathes with overwhelming calm. The heart grows and beats less at rest. Muscle fibers coordinate their motor units with complete efficiency to make the most of each unit of energy. Even the skin has its function. It hardens, adapts, survives. But all this comes at a price. Brutal fatigue, digestive failures, open blisters, black nails, and extreme dehydration. Contrary to what most people believe, after several interviews with these individuals, they all agree that the secret is to trick their mind to be on their side. They use a system of micro-goals. Run to the next post, pedal to the next kilometer, or swim to the next support boat. Break down the hell into manageable parts, because if you see it all at once, you give up. With age, an interesting question always arises. How long can a human life last? Jeanne Calment lived 122 and a half years. She was born in 1875 and died in 1997. In a single lifetime, she saw horse-drawn carriages, 2 world wars, the invention of the telephone, the man's arrival on the moon, and the birth of the internet. Her longevity was so extraordinary that for years it was suspected to be a case of fraud. But the official documents of birth, marriage, and census confirmed everything. Every detail matched. Today, it is considered the strongest case of verified human longevity, and also an uncomfortable limit. Because although science has recorded thousands of centenarians, very few exceed 115. Reaching beyond 120 seems to require more than genetics. According to several studies, the human body is probably not designed to sustain itself beyond 125 years. The reason? Accumulation of cellular damage, errors in DNA repair, and a gradual exhaustion of the mechanisms that keep us alive. The oldest living person currently is Maria Brañas Morera, born in 1907. Living in Spain since childhood, she is over 117 years old. And although she often jokes that her secret is avoiding toxic people, science takes it seriously. Attitude matters, but so do genes, environment, and luck, because there is always a part that cannot be controlled. To understand these cases, scientists have studied areas of the world where long life is common. They are called blue zones, places like Okinawa, Sardinia, Ikaria, or Nicoya. There, people live longer without doing extraordinary things. They walk every day, eat mainly plants, maintain active social relationships, and avoid chronic stress. It is a lifestyle accumulated over decades. It sounds simple, but reproducing it in a modern environment is another story. At the cellular level, aging is a combination of processes. Telomeres, the protective ends of DNA, shorten. Inflammation becomes chronic and low-grade. Mitochondria become less efficient at producing energy, and senescent cells appear, biological units that no longer function but also do not die. They remain there, taking up space and sending wrong signals to the rest of the body. Research is being done with senolytics, calorie restriction, strength exercise, and deep sleep as tools to delay deterioration. But the truth is that for now, there are no shortcuts. Time without breathing. An average human cannot go more than 60 seconds without breathing before they start to convulse. But there are trained athletes who defy that sensation and double, triple, or even multiply that time by 10. The Guinness record for static apnea, holding one's breath without moving underwater, is held by the Spaniard Aleix Segura. In the year 2016, he managed to hold his breath for 24 minutes and 3 seconds. However, he did so after breathing pure oxygen for several minutes, which temporarily reduces the carbon dioxide in the blood and delays the body's panic signal. In contrast, in clean apnea, without prior oxygen, the record is held by Branko Petrovic, with 11 minutes and 54 seconds. Under normal conditions, the brain starts to suffer irreversible damage after about 4 minutes without oxygen, and brain death can occur around 10 minutes if no intervention takes place. Something very curious is that in cases of drowning in very cold water, some people have survived up to 20 minutes without breathing thanks to what is known as the diving reflex, an automatic response that slows down metabolism to protect vital organs. Time in the cold. If you go into ice, in less than 15 minutes, you can be dead. Let's take it step by step. At 35 internal degrees, hypothermia begins. At 33, you start to move more slowly. At the age of 30, you can faint. And if you go below 28, the risk of cardiac arrest is real. But then Wim Hof, the Iceman, appears, running a half marathon barefoot on the snow, climbing part of Everest in shorts, and spending almost 2 hours submerged in ice without his internal temperature plummeting. This man is very well known in the world of biohacking and holds several Guinness World Records. And how does he achieve it? It's not a trick. His method combines forced breathing, gradual exposure to cold, and daily mental concentration training. Before entering the ice, he hyperventilates, increases his adrenaline, and reduces the body's alarm reaction. He has even managed to control his immune response to toxins in clinical trials. Literally, he taught his body not to panic. And it's not that he has special genetics, since he randomly took a handful of people, taught them his method, and they also achieved amazing feats in the cold. Some say that Wim knows how to control his nervous system at will. But apart from that extreme case, the biology is still clear. A person without preparation in below zero weather can go into hypothermia in less than an hour. And in icy water, that time frame reduces to just 10 or 15 minutes. Wim Hof is the exception. For everyone else, the cold does not forgive mistakes. Time without food. A person can live for more than a month without eating. There are survival records that reach up to 70 days, always with access to water. Another man went over a year without eating. Now, we will analyze his case. But before that, how is it possible to achieve something like this? You see, the body doesn't collapse immediately. To get energy, it first uses glycogen from the liver and muscles. Then, it makes glucose from scratch through gluconeogenesis. In a few days, ketosis sets in. Fats become alternative fuel for the brain. This saves muscle protein, but not for long. When fasting is prolonged, the body starts breaking down lean tissue to sustain essential organs. And what is lost is not just weight. It is strength, immunity, and mental clarity. One of the most extreme documented cases is that of Angus Barbieri. In 1965, in Scotland, under medical supervision, he fasted for 382 days. He only drank water, coffee, tea, and vitamin and mineral supplements. He went from 207 kilograms to 82. The doctors reported surprisingly stable health in the end, but it was a controlled exception. Trying it without supervision can be deadly. One of the biggest risks is refeeding syndrome. When calories are reintroduced too quickly, insulin pulls essential minerals like phosphorus, potassium, and magnesium into the cells. The result can be heart failure or respiratory failure. In shipwrecks or hunger strikes, the true limit has been seen. Bobby Sands died after 66 days. Terrence McSwiney held on for 74 days with partial support. In these cases, there are no miracles or discipline, just a slow degradation that does not forgive mistakes. One can survive without eating, but no one goes down that road without paying a high price. And if not eating is hard, not drinking is lethal. With water, the margins are drastically reduced. What takes weeks with food, here is reduced to days. And if there's heat, physical effort, or dry wind, that limit collapses in a matter of hours. It all starts with a thirst that's hard to ignore. Then come dizziness, weakness, confusion. The blood thickens. The heart works harder to move it. The kidney reduces urine to conserve what little remains. Sweat disappears just when you need it the most. In extreme climates, a person can die of dehydration in less than 24 hours. One of the most extreme cases was that of Andreas Miavec, a young Austrian who was mistakenly detained in 1979. He was forgotten in a cell without water or food. He was there for 18 days. He survived, according to his own testimony, by licking the moisture off the walls. The doctors considered his case a physiological miracle. He had fat reserves, low activity, and a relatively cool environment, but it is an exception that turned out well by chance. The other extreme exists and is less known. Hydrating poorly can also kill. In prolonged efforts, drinking too much water without replenishing minerals can cause hyponatremia. The sodium in the blood falls, the brain swells, and inside the skull there is no space. It has already happened in ultramarathons. Runners ended up in a coma trying to prevent dehydration without properly calculating electrolytes. We lose water by sweating, breathing, and urinating, but the environment changes everything. In areas with high humidity, evaporation is reduced and the body cannot cool down. That's why humid heat feels more suffocating. Sweat stays on the skin and doesn't help. Those who live or work at the limit know this. They plan their routes, calculate water points, and move when the sun goes down. Without a strategy, mistakes don't allow for correction time. Don't forget to support this kind of content by subscribing and watching this other very interesting video that you will love.